Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is a certified naturopathic practitioner, holistic health coach, and success expert dedicated to helping people live healthier, more fulfilled lives. Victor is the author of How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole, and you can become successful, and has collaborated with thought leaders like on projects such as Success Breakthrough, blending health, mindset, and personal development. Victor's work focuses on helping people unlock their full potential physically, mentally, and emotionally. Victor, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on your show.
All right. So I want you to, take us back to your early years, growing up in the Bronx, right? How did that environment shape your mindset, basically?
Well, one of the things we did back then was as kids, we played in the street a lot. So it taught me a lot about the importance of relationships because I think that's something we've forgotten today because everyone's like on their computers or on their cell phones. I mean, I use my cell phone all the time too, so don't get me wrong. But um, I I learned how to interact with people and to build friendships and relationships, which has served me very well throughout the course of my life. So I think that's something that really helped me a lot, and I think kids today need to rediscover that. And I just carried that throughout the rest of my life. So from there, and I learned education is very important, just put in the time and the effort. And then after college, I went into the corporate world, which I did for many years, almost 20 years. And then at the end of about 2013, I left the corporate world. I was let go from my last job. And I've been thinking about switching, becoming an entrepreneur for several years because I just wasn't happy with the way things were going. I love most of the time I spent there, but I felt like it had become too cutthroat. It wasn't people friendly. And basically, when they didn't need you, they got rid of you. So I wanted to do something where I felt, well, I could make a difference in people's lives. So that's when I made the switch. And it was a big change. It was a because it's a totally different mindset being an employee versus being an entrepreneur. So there was a big learning curve, and so it took a while to get used to it. But I've never looked back. So I got some mentors who helped me out a lot, and then I really eventually focused on health and wellness because that is my true passion. I really want to help people get better, get healthier, and have happier lives, and just try to avoid many of the sicknesses that really that that curse a lot of people, especially as they get old, because of the way they live their life. A lot of people are, for example, nutrient deficient and eating a lot of junk and ultra processed food. So my goal is to help them change some of the things they do so they can have those better lives. They have more energy, they feel healthier, and just live the kind of life that they were called to live.
All right, wow. Okay, so first off, I would say, Victor, thank you for joining Conversations with Sekani. I believe we have a lot to learn from you today. And yeah, were there habits or beliefs early on that you had to unlearn just so you could grow back then?
Yeah. Uh, you always have to, life is always about learning. And there's some things you gotta learn, some things you gotta change. So, if you're not learning, you're dying. I really believe that. So, I've learned as I got older, you can learn a lot from other people because people have certain experiences you don't have. So I think being a listener is something very important, both in terms of your relations with people, also in business. You're dealing with potential clients, potential prospects, or potential partners. If you may know everything, but if they don't feel heard, if they don't feel like you don't care about them, if they don't feel you really understand them, they won't work with you. They're not going to buy from you. So that's where I really learned. Yeah, that's why relationships is so important. That's why being a friend is so important. Just trying to understand. Listening is one of the most underrated tools in your arsenal. You got to learn how to become a better listener. And you learn about people. You can learn about their dreams, their business. What are the problems? You can only learn by listening and asking questions. If you just tell people everything, they're going to get defense. They're going to put up this defense wall. They're not going to want to work with you. But if you ask them questions, the defenses come down. They feel like you really hear them. You really want to help them. When they feel like you're on their side, they trust you. That's when everything changes. That's when you learn a lot. You learn by listening and asking questions. And that was the biggest change in my business that helped me so much.
Listen, all right, okay. So yes, thank you, Victor. And yeah, I want us to do a deep dive into what you do now. So you work at the intersection of health and success. So how are those two areas more connected than people think?
Well, many years ago, they asked Richard Branson, if you could start all over again, what would you do to become a billionaire? The first thing he said was exercise, work out. You have to be in good
Mm,
shape because if you're, 300 pounds overweight or 140 kilos overweight, you're not going to have the energy to do the things you need to do. You have to be in good shape. If you're constantly sick, if you're, constantly in bed, it's really going to be hard to have those successful uh, uh, strategies to implement because you're constantly sick. So your health is something really important. Also, you think more clearly. And so there is a big correlation, big relation between success and health. So you really need to be healthy. You think more, and there are a lot of things that help. Prayer, gratitude, meditation, all those things. Number one, they help with your ability to think and to implement. But they're also good for your health as
mm,
well. So there's a lot of overlap. I truly believe. So if you take care of your health, because they say a healthy man has like 1,000 wishes. A dying man has one, just to be healthy. So if you're about to die, you can't really focus on being successful. You just want to hopefully live longer. So that's why I think it's important to have good health. Everything's integrated because one of the things I am is a holistic health coach. And that means everything is interconnected. All the different parts of the body, your mental, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, well, all of that is interconnected. They all affect one another. So
mm,
I think too often when you go to a doctor, they'll just like maybe the one's a stomach specialist, one's a heart specialist, one's a kidney specialist. They only look at one part of the body, but there's a whole person to it. And very often in Western medicine, especially, they tend to just look at one part of the body. They don't look at the whole person. You go to like Asia, it tends to have more of a holistic approach because they tend to focus on the entire person. I think that's something really important is to focus on the entire person.
Focusing on the entire person. All right. Okay. So, you mentioned health, right? Being healthy is actually very important, to live a better and healthier lifestyle. So I would like to ask you, right, how do we be healthy, right? What are the steps to take to live a healthier life? I don't know if you understand my
Sure.
point.
Yeah. It first starts off with food. You got to eat good quality food. Eat real food. A lot of food out there is junk food, ultra processed. A lot of it's fake. And people eating food that's a lot worse than it was like 50, 60 years ago. And so that's one problem. If you eat healthier food, free of a lot of this ultra processed stuff that goes in, foods that are either low in sugar or no in sugar or free of seed oils, I think you're going to be healthier. Unfortunately, that so many people eating foods have lots of seed oils in them, lots of sugars and other kinds of there are many different types of sugars out there and carbohydrates, and that leads to a whole host of health problems. So it starts with eating better quality food, but that's not enough. You also have to supplement because you're not going to get all the nutrients you need, all the various vitamins and minerals from even from a good quality diet. You could have done that in 1900. It's impossible today. You really need to supplement because the minerals are not in the soil anymore, and every year there's fewer and fewer minerals. So an apple today compared to an apple 80 years ago is going to have a lot less of the nutrients or most other fruits and vegetables. So you're not going to get it from good. You have to supplement it, and you have to get good quality supplements. You got to keep your stress levels low. You need to get enough exercise. And you need to get plenty of sleep. Most people are sleep deprived. I think in the United States, I think over 30% of people get less than 6 hours of sleep, and that's very bad for your health. There's a lot of health issues that come from not getting enough sleep. So you're limiting the stress, getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep, getting enough of the supplementation, because you need to get all those vitamins and minerals. They're very important. You need a total of 90 nutrients in your body each day. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and a couple of EFAs, essential fatty acids, and eat good quality food. You do that, you're on the road to having a healthier life.
Mm, yeah. All right. So yes, thank you for this one. So I had a guest one time, right, that mentioned diet also becoming a very core part of our health, right? But then she said grains, right? Like rice, corn, those things that are grown from the ground are not actually good for us, right? We're not supposed to eat it because they grew from the ground. It sounded a bit odd to me, right? Because over here in Nigeria, grains are one of the major food that we eat here, right? And I think it's a healthy food, right? So what do you think about foods like that, basically?
Foods from the ground is fine. It just depends on what kind. It's like lots of vegetables. Most vegetables are going to be very good for you. Now, in terms of corn, I wouldn't overdo it with the corn for a couple of reasons. It's high in
Mm,
carbohydrates. So, and maybe that's what she meant with the grains, because a lot of grains tend to be high in carbohydrates, and it can lead to a whole bunch of issues: weight gain, obesity, insulin
mm,
resistance, as well as possible diabetes. If you high carbs, high sugars can do that. So maybe that's probably what she meant. Because that thing about growing in the ground, because there are plenty of fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables that grow in the ground that are very healthy, have a lot of nutrients in it. So I'm guessing that's probably what she meant. Because here's the thing people don't realize: farmers have known for generations that when they want to fatten up the animals, they limit the proteins, they limit the fats, they give them lots of carbs, lots of carbohydrates, because they know it's going to fatten up the animal. So they give them lots of carbohydrates. And that's another problem, especially in the Western world. For many years, especially in the United States, for the past 75 years, we were told to eat a high carb, low fat diet, which has caused all kinds of health issues because you want to limit the
mm,
carbs. And if fats, you need a good amount of fats. And I'm talking about the regular healthy fat. I'm not talking about like seed oil fats. Those fats, but a lot of fats are good. You need a good amount of fat. And here's the thing: when you take fats out of foods, you lose taste, and you got to replace it with something. So when you look at fat-free foods, what do they normally have? Lots of sugar, because sugar's got a lot of taste, but lots of sugar has a lot of bad health consequences. So always be careful when you see fat-free foods, because generally a lot of fat-free foods will make you fatter. Because
mm.
carbs will
Oh,
definitely, carbs and cereals will help make you more obese. It's not the fat that does it. A lion, if you, I've never seen a I've never seen a fat lion in my life. But when a lion kills an animal, he eats the fat part of the animal. He does not generally eat the lean parts, the lean proteins. He eats the fat part of the animal.
mm,
And I've never seen an obese lion.
mm.
So that's a myth that the fat makes you fat. It's the seed oils and the carbs that are the biggest culprits. And they've known this for over 100 years.
Wow. All right. Okay. Thank you, Victor, for, sharing these amazing insights with us. Because some of them I'm new to, like I just found out right now talking to you. And yes, I want us to talk on mindset, right? So how does the mindset influence physical health in ways that people often overlook?
Well, we so look at stress. People get stressed out because they worry about every little thing. High stress can affect your immune system, and it can lead to a whole bunch of various illnesses. So that's why I talk about stress is so important. If you feel bad about yourself, you have a lot of negative thoughts about yourself, it'll affect your immune system as well. People tend to be happier, have more positive thoughts, who worry less. They also tend to have better immune systems. They've done studies on this. Just like people who get sick, when the people who do a lot of praying, they tend to do better in their recovery from illnesses than from people who don't pray, for example. There was a guy named Norman Cousins. He wrote a book called An Anatomy of an Illness, and he had like a big sickness. And what he did to recover? He watched a lot of funny movies and comedy shows every
Mm,
single day. He was laughing throughout the day. And that helped him recover from his illness, just laughing a lot. So laughter can help your immune system. So you think about when we were kids, the average child lasts about 400 times a day. The average adult lasts about 15 to 20 times a day. As we got older,
mm,
we have forgotten how to laugh. Because I know when I was watching a lot of things as a kid, I know I laughed a lot more than I do today. So I myself
mm,
I'm trying to recover that sense of laughter because it will help with your health.
mm. Wow, laughter. All right. Okay, so yes, thank you for that one, Victor. So, talking about the success principle, right? You've trained in the success principle. So, what is one principle that has had the biggest impact in your life?
It's hard to get it's limited to just one, but I'll just give you the first one that Jack Canfield teaches, who's the guy behind the success process. His very first rule of success is to take 100% responsibility for your life,
Mm.
because all the other principles flow from it. And because, here's the thing, you don't, he has an equation which other people have also used. It's called E plus R equals O. And E is the event that happens to you, R is your response, and the event that you respond to will determine your outcome. So sometimes you may not have control over the event that happens to you, but you have control over the response to it, and that will determine your outcome. So like two people might grow up in a really poor neighborhood. One person has one response, becomes a criminal. The other person decides to get an education and becomes a lawyer because of the
Mm.
different responses they take. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation to grow up in, but sometimes you do have a power over your response, or you might be in stuck in bad traffic. Two people stuck in the same traffic jam. One guy is yelling and cursing, so why does this always happen to me? The other guy is relaxing, he's drinking his coffee, playing some music, or listening to some motivational, CD, and he's in a much better mood. They have the same situation, but each one chose a different response, and they're having a different outcome because of that. So, when you take responsibility, what happens is you become more solution oriented, you become more action oriented because you feel like you have control over how you can respond to the situation. When you don't take that responsibility, you feel like you have no control whatsoever, and you don't do anything. You don't take action because you blame everything around you. So that's why it's so important to take the full responsibility, because you're more likely to take action and find a solution. Because if you don't do it, you just figure it's a waste of time and nothing gets done. All you do is complain.
Mm. All right. So it's important to, take full responsibility of your life, right? So,
Absolutely.
right. Okay. So talking about, identity growth and fulfillment, right? So how has your definition of success evolved over time?
Basically, I think when I was younger, I was probably like a lot of people. It's like if I had $10 million, I was a success, and that's one type of success. But if you have $10 million, but you lost everything, you lost your family, your friends, and you're all alone, I
Mm.
think you're probably more of a failure. So I think it's really anything can be a success. I mean, it's really the thing you really want, and you achieve it. So, if you have a loving family, you have three kids who love you, you have a lot of friends, you're a success. It's like we have a lot more successes than we realize. You might have you mastered five languages, which very few people can do. So if you can speak five languages, I think that's quite a success. Or you're in really good health. You're among the healthiest people among all the people you know. Maybe some of those people have more money than you, but I think that's a success because you have a happy life, you're doing well, and you're healthy. You have no issues, you have no problems, you have low stress. That could be considered a success. Or you're a valued member of your church. You have a great prayer life. You have a great spiritual life. That's a success too. But there are many different types of successes. So I think very often we focus on what we don't have, and which is why a lot of times people feel like failures, instead of focusing on the things we do have. If you got your driver's license, if you finished college, you got your PhD, you've done these things, you're a success. You had a kid, your kid came and grew up well, you did a good job parenting, that's a success. So, but we tend not to think of those things as successes, but they are. So when you look at it like that, we often have a lot more successes than we give ourselves credit for.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Something that stood out for me that you said is we tend to focus on things we do not have. That's what makes us feel like, oh, we are not successful yet. But I think it's important for us to, just take time to self-reflect and redefine what we call success, right? Because I think success varies amongst people. What people consider as successful is different, right, from each other. So we need to redefine what we call success and just take a deep breath to think. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you
All right.
100%.
So finally, right. Okay. So Victor, I want you to talk to someone out there because that's the whole purpose of my podcast, right? To give young adults advice, one piece of advice to someone in their 20s about, building a strong foundation for life, what would it be?
Well, I would say number one things. I can't give you one thing. I'm going to give you several tips to do. Number one, build your network. Build your network. Your network is your net worth. So build those relationships. Make a lot of friends. Keep in touch with them, and reach out to them all the time. Don't reach out to them only when you need something, because then you'll people just think, oh, I only hear from that person when he wants something from me. Keep in touch with them from time to time. Build a relationship with them, because the more friends you have, it's going to help you. Number one, work on your health. That's so important, because you'll be able to be more successful in all facets of life when you take care of your health. And I would just say it's very important to work on your mindset, because there's so much negativity out there. It's so easy to feel bad about yourself. So work on your personal development mindset, how you feel about yourself. And there are many different ways to do it. So that is so important, because when you feel better about yourself, you're going to accomplish more, you're going to take action more. And it's so important to be consistent in whatever you do, whatever thing you want to accomplish, be consistent. Because I'll give you a difference between being consistent and not being consistent. If you double a penny every single day for 31 days, after 31 days, you'll have $10 million. If you double that penny every other day, at the end of that month, you'll have
Mm.
$163.84. So that's the difference between being consistent and not being consistent. The more consistent you are, the more you'll get out of life and in whatever venture you go into. But if you're starting a new business venture, or you're going for a PhD program, whatever job you're doing, be consistent and show up day in and day out, because no matter what you do, it's going to pay dividends. Because consistency will beat intensity every single day. It's why the tortoise beat the hare in the race. Even though the
Okay.
hare was much faster, the tortoise was more consistent. Because everything compounds, it's the compound effect. The small changes over the course of time will lead to big results. So that's why it's important to be, because like with the penny double, in the first few days, it's 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents. It doesn't seem like a lot, but after 31 days, it becomes $10 million. That's the compound effect. Consistency can lead to huge results down the road.
Consistency. Right, okay. And you mentioned something, which is the mindset. You said work on your mindset, because it's very easy for people to, just feel less of themselves or just feel some type of way. So that was supposed to be my final question I asked, but I think I need to ask this one, right? What do you think are ways that people can actually work on themselves, their mindset rather, to make them feel better? Because I feel like the mindset is a very integral part of our lives. I mean, once you feel some type of way about yourself, it's very difficult to focus on other aspects of your life. So that's
Yeah,
a core part of one's life. So how do we work on our mindsets, basically?
there are several things you can do. Number one, choose your circle of influence. Jim Rohn used to say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're the people around you always like complaining, whining, they're negative, want to bring you down, find a new group of friends. Find people that are successful, who are positive, that will build you up and support you in your ventures. Number two, there are
Mm,
things like meditation, gratitude, prayer. Those are positive things that can work on your mindset. Watch your self-talk. Yeah, a lot of times our
mm,
self-talk is very negative and self-sabotaging. There was a book by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, which was, I believe, called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself or Speak to Yourself. You can find it on Amazon. It is a great book telling you how to deal with overcoming that sabotage of self-talk, which really hurts you. I read that book years ago, and it definitely changed my life. So that's something I would recommend. Watch your self-talk, because very often it's very negative. People don't realize how much they self-sabotage. And I
mm,
would also say the most important times of the day for you to work on your mindset, especially your subconscious mind, which is where 95% or even more of your decisions are made, is the first hour of the morning and the last hour before you go to bed. Because that's when your subconscious mind is most impressionable. You're in that theta state. So in the first thing in the morning, don't watch the news, because you're going to only see wars and crime and fires and murders. So don't watch the news when you get up. This is the time where you can do some prayer, some gratitude, or read something positive, or watch some positive motivational video on YouTube, for example. Same thing when you go to night. Same thing before you go to bed at night. Think about it. If you watch a scary movie right before you go to bed, guess what? You're much more likely to have nightmares. So don't
mm,
do
mm,
anything scary. Don't watch anything scary. Don't read anything negative. In fact, when you right before you go to sleep, whatever you do in that last hour, you can play up to 6 times as much in your subconscious mind as the rest of the day. So last hour before you go to bed and the first hour when you wake up, that's when it's most impressionable. That's the time you got to feed it lots of positive stuff. So those are the two most important hours of the day if you really want to work on your mindset and make it stronger and more positive.
Okay. Wow. Right. Thank you, Victor, for, such powerful and practical conversation, covering health, mindset, and what it really takes to build a fulfilling life. So thank you for sharing your insights with us. And finally, we move to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment. So you could either answer with a word or a phrase. So starting now, what is one daily habit that improves your life the most?
Eating well,
Hmm, okay. All right. So what is one belief that people need to let go of?
that they're not good enough.
Hmm. All right. And finally, what does living a successful life truly mean to you?
Is living the kind of life God wants me to live.
Hmm. The kind of life God wants you to. Wow, that's an interesting answer, right? Okay, thank you, Victor. I would say I've learned a whole lot from our conversation today. A lot that I would actually take with me and start to implement them in my daily lives. And I really hope my listeners will do the same. And finally, before you go, where can listeners get to learn more about you and also connect with you?
Sure, they can go to my website, victordedaj.com, and Dedaj is spelled Dedaj. If they want a free health evaluation, they can go to yourfreehealthevaluation.com, and they can reach out to me on either Facebook or LinkedIn, Victor Dedaj.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Victor the Dash. And to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on amazing episode. Once again, thank you, Victor. I'm going to try connecting on LinkedIn. And yes, do have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me on. Have a wonderful day too.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.